Carrie, Morgan, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
My first question is, how does one feel being involved in this kind of period production, getting yourselves in another era? How does it feel as an actor, as an actress? Carrie?
Are you frozen?
Am I frozen?
Oh, there you are. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, David. My internet connection is sort of unstable and it cut out. How does it feel to be involved in something like this?
In a period piece like this one, yeah.
Yes. Well, I've never been involved in something this detailed and at this scale. The first time I walked into the foyer set of the Russell's house, it absolutely blew my mind. And then I realized how much space I would have to take up. But it's the truth is that our production designers, our costume designer, the props designers, everybody's working with such astonishing detail that it really felt like most of my work was done. And then all I had to do was open my mouth. So it was an incredible privilege. And of course the cast, being among all these great theater actors, it was just a real gift. It was extraordinary.
How about you, Morgan?
I think there's something about the way that these characters are restrained by the manners of their era that I think is it's fascinating to play with as an actor, because there's always the sort of the level of what you're actually feeling, what you would naturally say, especially as a contemporary 21st century person, and what is sort of permitted within the world of the show. And that the tension between sort of internal and external reality is fun to play with as an actor always, but it's very much a part of, I think, how these people lived. So I think that's an interesting aspect of it for us.
I would like you to define Julian on the job. I mean, how is he?
Well, Julian's obviously incredibly knowledgeable about this time period. But what I found most extraordinary about Julian was, he's an auteur, director, and writer. He completes these works from the ground up and writes the episodes himself. And yet he was absolutely collaborative when he brought in Dr. Erica Dunbar and Sonia Warfield, who is the other writer on the show, because he knew that there were some holes in his knowledge about American characters, particularly the African-American characters. And I was really struck by his sense of collaboration with those writers and with Erica. It was just, it was really moving to me to see that, especially a man, he's a man of a certain age and from a certain generation. And it surprised me. His openness really surprised me.
Mm-hmm. And which aspect of this of the plot of the show came to you as a surprise? What didn't you know about this era?
Oh,
Morgan,
so
for example?
I'm trying to think what was maybe the most surprising.
Mm-hmm. I have to say that the extensive etiquette of the period was really, I knew there were different rules for how people ate and how they greeted one another, but I had no idea how broad and it just covered every aspect of their lives. It dictated so much about how they interacted with each other. And we had to have someone on set all the time to make sure that we were following those protocols as they were. And Julian would often catch something from, London. He'd be watching his Q take and he would catch a greeting that was incorrect, or the way somebody was holding glass, or the way they were, eating soup with their spoon the wrong direction. And so you had to pay a lot of attention to that stuff. And that was not something I was really prepared to take on. It surprised me every day.
My last question would be, I would like you to reflect on the future of this business. This show is going to be premiered on HBO. It's a platform, of course, but cinemas are struggling. How do you see the future of this business we share in certain ways?
Yeah, I think it's a hard time to make predictions. But I think, it's clearly there. People are still willing to go to the theaters. I mean, Spider-Man just made all the, money I think no film has ever made. It's pretty close to one of the highest grossing films of all time, if it isn't there already. And so I think there clearly are some films that are going to bring people out, and there are some films that are not. And I think obviously everything's moving to streaming. There's no fighting it. But where the sort of window stabilizes for cinemas, that's going to allow cinemas to continue to exist. I think that battle is about to happen. I don't think we really know how that's going to play out. But yeah, it's I would say probably the next 5 years are going to, it's hard not to see the number of cinemas dwindling. I just hope that it's not the art house cinemas. I hope that art house cinemas can figure out a way to program and survive.
How do you see it, Carrie?
It's the Wild West. The Wild West. I think Morgan's absolutely right. This is the moment where it's going to be decided. But streaming is a Pandora's box. We're not going to go back from here, especially because everyone's bought a lot of sweatpants and are willing to stay home. So it's going to be really interesting to see. It's going to be sort of a marketing battle too. It was already hard for small independent films to make a go of it. And now it's going to be that much harder. And the hope is that people will start to make them. Because that money, so much of the money that used to create that mid-level of film has gone into television. And some of those stories are being told beautifully on TV. And certainly women's careers are thriving on TV. So there are good things too.
Okay, Carrie, Morgan, thank you very much for being with us today. A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Vale. Venga, Hasta luego.
Adiós.